Alright, today's lesson's on congruent triangles and CPCTC. Alright, for congruent triangles, triangles with the same shape and the same size are called congruent triangles. But of course, we've actually talked about this before. This means that all corresponding parts, such as the angles and the sides, are congruent. As mentioned in previous lessons, whenever triangles are congruent, we can write a congruent statement. That is saying that one triangle is congruent to the other. When you are talking about the triangles, the first letter has to correspond with the first letter of the second triangle. And again, the second letters have to match with the second letters. And the third letters have to match each other as well. In order for your congruent statement to be valid, you have to have it in the correct order. Now for CPCTC, what does that actually mean? What CPCTC stands for is that the corresponding parts of congruent triangles are congruent. Or basically, if we know that two triangles are congruent, the matching parts have to be congruent to each other as well. Again, we've actually talked about this previously as well. So looking at the first problem here, we have triangle JKL is congruent to triangle PQR, and it wants to know, listing all the congruent parts of this, first by the angles. So we use the first angle first, so angle J must be congruent to the first angle, angle P. Angle K must be congruent to the second angle, angle Q. And angle L must be congruent to the third angle, angle R. Alright, and then when we're doing with sides, we just pick two letters, so we'll start with JK, that was the first and the second, so we're going to match with the first and the second again, PQ. We're going to do KL, second and the third, matches the second and the third, QR. And then lastly, we're going to do JL, and that would match with PR. And once you'd also write another valid congruent statement. It does not matter what you do, just pick the letters. So we'll do KJL would be congruent to triangle QPR. For number 3, it's saying that we have these triangles congruent and it wants you to match the missing parts. I'm only going to do a couple of these in here. So let's start off with KM. KM is the first and the third, match with the first and the third, AC. Angle Y for D, so angle Y is the second letter, which match with the second letter here. So angle P. And then let's look at G here. It says triangle MPK. So that would match with triangles. M's the third letter, so it's going to be A. P is my second letter, that would be Y. And then we have, not A, sorry. Right, so redoing this, M's the first or third letter, matches with C, then Y, and then A. So triangle CYA for G. Right, now looking at number 4, we've got triangle STW congruent to triangle BFN. It wants to know what the measure of BN would be. So BN is the first and the third, matches to the first and the third, so that would be SW. If we look at that, SW is 9 centimeters, which means BN is also 9 centimeters. For TW, TW is the second and the third, matches with the second and third, which would be FN. Look at FN, we have 14 centimeters, so TW also has to be 14 centimeters. And lastly, BF is the first and the second, so matches with ST, which is 17 centimeters, so that means BF is also 17 centimeters. To find angle W, W is the third letter, matches with the third letter, so W matches with N, which is 82 degrees, so W is 82 degrees. For B, that is the first letter, matches with the first letter, which is S. S is 67, so B is 67. Now to find F, we do not have a match for that in the actual labeling of it. So F is the second letter, matches with T, which we don't have match for either of them, but again, all angles add up to 180 degrees, so we can do 82 plus 67, giving us 149, and then subtract that from 180, and our last angle has to be 31 degrees. Number 6, we have to find the values of X, Y, and Z. So we need to end up figuring out where each of them go. It says that these triangles are congruent UVW with TSR. So UV would match with TS. VW would match with SR. And that leaves that the third side has to match with the third side. So we can set this up here. First thing for X, that's 12X minus 7. And that side matches with 53. So we're going to set that equal to 53. Add 7 to both sides. And now we get 12X equals to 60. Divide by 12. And X equals to 5. We do the same thing for Y. We got 5Y minus 33. That matches with 57. So we're going to add 33. And that gives me 5Y equals to 90. Divide by 5. And Y equals to 18. And lastly, we're going with Z, so we have 3Z plus 14 equals to 50. Subtract 14 from both sides. 3Z equals to 36. Divide by 3. And Z equals to 12. Alright, on number 8 we have to draw our pictures to end up helping us. My suggestion is just to draw two triangles that look the same and then label them in the same order. So we got D, E, F, and then we have J, K, L. So it tells me DE is 18, EF is 23, DF is 9x minus 23, JL is 7x minus 11, and JK is 3y minus 21. Alright, so to find x and y, we end up having to set these up. Alright, so for x, the only one that we have x in here is DF and JL. Those would be congruent to each other because they are in the corresponding parts. Again, because of how I drew the triangles, the ones in the same spots are the corresponding ones. So we can just set these equals. So 7x minus 11 equals to 9x minus 23. Subtract 7x from both sides. Ends up giving me negative 11 equals to 2x minus 23. Got to get rid of that minus 23 by adding. And now that is going to be 12 equals to 2x. divide by 2. And I'm going to move this over here, and we get x equals to 6. For y, we are going to have to do, we got 3y minus 21. That side would match with the side that is 18. So we're going to do 3y minus 21 equals to 18. Alright, to get rid of this minus 21, we add 21. And it's 3y equals to 39. Divide by 3. And we end up getting that our y equals to 13.